There's been so much talk about what generative AI can do, and little about what it's actually doing today. So let's look at how it's being applied practically in a conversation with GoTo General Manager and SVP of its IT Solutions Group, Joseph George. We're doing a deep discussion looking at the technology's applicability in an interview presented by GoTo, and I think you're all going to really enjoy the discussion and the examples that you're going to hear from Joseph today. Joseph, great to see you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Alex. It's a pleasure to talk to you this morning.
So GoTo is the company that has underneath it Log Me In, which is the service that I'm sure a lot of us have used where you're having a technical issue with your computer, somebody will log in and then help you fix it. And it's fascinating to me that you're starting to use artificial intelligence in this process, not just in a surface level way, but a deep way. So can you tell me a little bit about how artificial intelligence helps you with that process?
Absolutely, Alex. Yeah, so absolutely correct. GoTo provides a set of products and services across the communication space, collaboration, as well as solving the needs of IT customers. And for the IT products, we're branding those Log Me In. As you mentioned, Log Me In is a brand that's been known in this industry for a long time. And you'll increasingly hear us use Log Me In for branding our products and services in the space. And absolutely, they're being transformed by AI. It's amazing is we live in an age where you're looking at what types of problems you solve for customers. And it's not only about solving those problems more efficiently in a better manner, but it's about solving a whole range of new types of problems that we weren't even thinking about before. So I'm excited about being in the space at this time and also running the business at Log Me In for a broad range of products as well.
Okay, and so can you give us like some examples? You're talking about how you're going to use AI to solve current problems and longer term problems. So how's that actually working in practice?
Absolutely, Alex. If you think about GoTo and Log Me In, we also serve a range of customers. For small, medium businesses and managed service providers, we offer a unified endpoint management platform. So it's a platform that, think of it as delivering IT in a box, right? Those are small companies. They want to be able to get a solution that provides a broad range of their IT needs for managing their endpoints. And also for enterprise customers, we have a product suite called Rescue. And Rescue has been in this industry for a long time. Rescue has always been about connecting the expert to that end system. So if you or anyone listening to this podcast, if they have an issue with their laptop, you end up opening up a ticket and then somebody comes in from your IT department, right? So you've got a technician that actually gets access to your laptop and they actually fix the problems by logging into your laptop and they're fixing those issues. And it's always been about access. So connecting the expert to the system. How does the expert connect in seamlessly, securely, and impact the end user as little as possible? AI changes that because it's no longer just about access. So think of the steps that the technician goes through, right? When they're going in, fixing a problem on your laptop, and when they're done, typically they've got to go document that, or they've got to create a knowledge base article. Those are the onerous steps that they often end up skipping because they don't have time. They're going from one call to the next, or they don't do it well. And this is where AI comes to the rescue, right? AI can now start to capture what happens in that session, automatically create a session summary, and then create a knowledge article and actually not only create it, but also help maintain it as well. And that's just one example, Alex. We'll talk about many other examples. It's amazing what's happening in this space.
Yeah, definitely. And I can imagine for most people, there's the doing the job and then there's the documenting the job. And, we've always been talking about like, what's the AI use case going to be? And there are these like broad buzzwords that AI will help people do more efficiently and do more of the human work and less of the rote work. And I think what you're pointing to here is like a pretty good example of you have an IT technician who's going to come in and fix a computer. In the background, now the AI is watching, taking notes, and helping them basically put together the documentation that they would be required to put together afterwards, stuff they don't really like doing, I would imagine. Because you get into IT services, you care about fixing stuff. You don't care about documenting it. And so this is one example, I think, of how you can use Gen AI sitting in the background. You go in, you remote in, you do what you need to, and then all of a sudden, all that documentation is waiting for you. Am I getting it right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's the toil, right? The toil that you have to deal with. it's starting to take away that toil from your day to day. And so think about the technician, right? The technician is now actually spending time, exactly like you said, solving real problems. The toil is taken away. It's not only documenting those steps, it's creating knowledge articles. And there's a couple of additional applications from that. The first is the next time you get a call for a similar sort of problem and a less experienced technician has to solve it, guess what? They have a head start because now those steps have been documented. They can now follow those steps. And even better, we can now actually automate and create scripts to automate those steps. So rather than have somebody go through, manually click through a whole bunch of steps, with GenAI, you can take a summary and create essentially an execution plan and start to run those. And so the world of having a human technician now actually supervising what I'd call virtual technicians that can execute commands on their behalf and run in parallel on a number of different machines at the same time, that world sounds a little bit like science fiction, but guess what? It's true. It's already here, right? We have our products as part of our unified endpoint management product. That product set is branded LogMeIn Resolve. We have those capabilities available for customers today. And we'll continue to work on and improve that. And it's amazing the not only the productivity it drives, but also the efficiency. And also in terms of customer satisfaction, it's not just satisfaction on the end of the technician. They're more effective. They can learn more quickly. But also the end employee here whose laptop is being fixed. You're getting a better experience at the end of this as well.
So Joseph, I think what you're saying is pretty profound because I'm thinking about there's so many professions that you need to like basically document things at the end of your work. My father, for instance, he just retired, but he was a doctor, and you know what? He would spend his nights literally submitting paperwork. And I always said like it would be great if there was an AI that could kind of be his co-pilot and stand there with him or sit there with him, whatever it is, and then at the end of the day, when he's done with his patients, it takes the notes, it summarizes, and then he just goes and checks. And so it seems like we're definitely seeing that in medicine. We're seeing it in IT. We're seeing it all over the economy. But I think what you shared was a step even further than that, which is that once you have this AI sitting in the background, and we're going to talk, by the way, because I'm definitely interested in hearing how you built this. But just let's focus on the use case for a moment. As it sits in the background and it views case after case of similar problems, it now can take effectively the combined knowledge of the entire organization and then share it in a digestible way with even a junior technician to help them make sense of problems they hadn't seen before.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and there's multiple aspects to it as well, right? The first is as a technician is fixing a problem, getting assistance, actually having guidance, right? So the AI can actually start to give you guided advice and tell you, what about this? Did you miss this step? Or how about this thing that you should have done, right? So now you have, like you said, a co-pilot or an assistant actively helping you through the process. So you're able to debug and fix the problem more quickly and efficiently. But also the fact that you're able to create the summary. And then even more interesting is the summary is valuable. That's the easy part from an AI perspective, right? That's what you're getting from the LLM. It basically understands based on the steps that are being taken, how do you actually create a summary from that? But what's fascinating is taking it from a set of steps to actually an automation task that can be run and executed. If you think about the before world, before AI, you actually had to go ahead and use maybe a low-code, no-code tool to define a workflow, right? How do you convert those steps into a workflow that can be executed? And now instead, the LLM is automatically generating that execution plan so it can be run. And even better, as you run that script, the LLM is also determining if you encounter behavior that you didn't expect, it's resilient enough to be able to work around that. And so you're getting much more reliability and automation in practice that's actually helping the customer and also helping the technician as well.
Wait, so are you saying that not only is the AI watching in the background and helping to give advice to, let's say, less seasoned technicians on problems they may not have encountered before or maybe just a few times and helping them work through it, but as the system watches more technicians remote in and solve problems for people, it can now, in an automated fashion, start solving those problems itself?
Yeah, I mean, as you see, the first time you've seen the problem and you understand here's the signature, you've captured the steps to fix it, and then you see another ticket show up, you immediately understand here's this ticket. It's very similar. I already have the recipe. I have the steps to be able to fix it, and now you can actually have a virtual technician kick that off and start to fix it for somebody else. So you might have 3 or 4 other customers call in, right, with exactly the same problem, and instead of the human technician having to respond to each one, you can have the virtual technician start to fix those problems. Now, ultimately, obviously, you want to make sure that the human being is in the loop and they're able to supervise and determine how much the virtual technician runs. So that is the environment we're in right now, where it's a coexistence of human agent working with these virtual agents. But I can see the virtual agents taking on more autonomy over time, especially if these are proven types of problems and you understand and you've got a success rate of solving them, then you could reach a case where there's even more automation happening there as well.
So am I picturing it the right way, that there's maybe like a human agent sort of like as a manager of these virtual agents that's seeing requests come in and saying, okay, we have the fix this problem agent, so we're going to go send that out and have it try a bunch of diagnostics and resets and fixes and see if it can solve it, and then go and check back with the client?
It's even better than that, right? It's basically where the tool can tell you these 3 problems, these 3 tickets are actually associated with these desktops. So even the simple task of saying the ticket is associated with this user who has these desktops, that's usually a manual step, right? Somebody has to go through and figure out which laptop are they calling about. So all those types of steps where you're actually getting to here's where the problem is, that's automated. And now it's actually able to tell you, here, this is the problem that we've seen. The virtual technician can go ahead and execute it. Go ahead, press execute, and it'll run in the background. You can supervise it. And when it's done, it tells you if it succeeded or not. And you can see what's happening in parallel across a set of laptops at the same time. So you see the whole advantage. Number one, it's far more efficient for the technician. They don't feel stressed where they have to respond to all these different problems and switch from one call to the next. A lot of the toil is being taken away. And also for the end customers, it's much more efficient as well. They're not sitting in line waiting for the technician to free up as well. So that's the beauty of what we're seeing. It's basically where that employee or customer experience is much better as well. And the technician is now spending time more creatively. They're not spending time doing manual steps and running through it every single hour of the day.
That's pretty remarkable. All right. As a journalist, I have to ask you, this stuff works?
Absolutely. This stuff works. And it'll only get better, right? What we're doing, what we're seeing, especially as we look at more specialization, as you get to much more domain knowledge around specific types of problems, we'll see that improving as well. But generic types of problems, absolutely works really well as well. And it actually, if you think about the whole endpoint space, it's taking us from a mode where we operated very much reactively. This is always about how does the user figure out there's a problem and call in and you get help. Everything we talked about, Alex, was about improving that process. But think of it as one step further, where now, I described we've got a unified endpoint management platform that's branded LogMeIn Resolve. And there we're actually monitoring your endpoints. We've actually got telemetry so we can see if something's going wrong. We're also able to push out patches and fix things. And imagine we've got these support calls also happening as well. So in that environment, think of where we could start to monitor, see that there's a problem ahead of time, and start to trigger these virtual technicians even before the user calls in. That's obviously work in progress, right? We're not there yet where everything's happening automatically, but we've got all the pieces and we're putting those together, and that's the world we're getting to, firmly where you don't even have to call in and talk about the problem. The system detects that there's a problem, tries to fix it ahead of time, and then ideally informs you afterwards. There was a problem, we took care of it. Just imagine the savings and the satisfaction that you have from a user perspective.
So the roadmap is to go to basically reactive. Somebody has a problem, and right now, like maybe there's a human technician that's going out and remoting in and fixing what's going on, to a place where I think this is what's happening now, where AI can basically handle this virtually, to one step even further than that, which is if you anticipate there's going to be a problem on a computer, the bot can come in and fix it before someone even calls support.
That's absolutely where we're headed, right? And that is because you've got you've got the telemetry that you're collecting from those endpoints. You can start to figure out there is a problem. Some things happen, right? You're logging in, and every time you log in, sometimes even before you notice it, it can start to look at the data and see that your performance is actually slowing down. There's an issue here. And by the way, we've seen this problem before. We know what the fix is. We can go in and fix it, right? That's the world that we're going to. And it'll be a much more productive world. Obviously, the role of the technician changes at that point, right? You're not trying to reactively respond to things and running through run books and manual steps. At that point, a lot of the toil, the drudgery is taken out of your day-to-day. And now you're actually able to focus on more value-creating activities as well, right? So it absolutely changes the role, but it's going to be a better world for not only technician, but also the end employee as well.
It's so interesting because what you're describing is something that I think we can see in so many industries. I mentioned medicine already. We're also on the channel, either live already or about to be live. We have a conversation with Tom Eggemeyer, the CEO of Zendesk. And it seems like this is where customer service in general is headed as well. Where else do you think this type of technology might be able to be applied?
Honestly, if I think about any environment where you've got an expert connecting in remotely to a system, an expert's going through their knowledge and the experience they have, is there a way for the tools to become experts, right? To actually learn from the experts and to start to provide that expertise, right? So any environment where you have that set up, this applies, right? And think about the savings instead of somebody actually physically going out to a device that's out there and actually trying to figure out what's happening. We fixed the problem by having the ability to remotely log in. And now if you're able to take it one step further where it's not just a connectivity tool for experts, but it's actually providing expertise, helping newer employees learn from experts and start to automate steps and create automation scripts automatically, that starts to become a much more efficient and productive environment for all concerned.
I want to know how this is going to change the workforce in the future, because I hear these stories and I want to think of maybe the bright situation where, let's say you're a technician, you're now really just working on the most thorny issues and some of the basic stuff the AI is going to take for you. But I do think that this could really have a profound change on the way that we work. If I'm just getting started, this is a question we get often. If I'm just getting started, usually what happens is the company pays me a low salary to start, and learn on the job, mess up a bunch and, sort of get my bearings, do some of that lower value work that still needs to be done, and then get up to speed. But the more I hear about these AI systems, the more I wonder whether that job is going to be something that we're going to still have in the coming economy. So I just want to get your thoughts on, since you're building it, how the workforce is going to change with this technology deployed.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point. And we always worry, right? Is the AI going to replace the human being? Is our IT workers no longer needed because of AI? And ultimately, I look at this as a tool, right? So AI isn't replacing human beings. It's essentially humans and IT technicians that use AI will replace those that don't, right? I'm sort of borrowing a line from Eric Brynjolfsson from Stanford, who actually used that example, and he used it in the context of lawyers, but I think it just applies equally in the IT setting. So what I see is roles will evolve, right? Where you had mundane, repetitive tasks, those types of things, will start to be automated and done much more efficiently by the AI, right? And obviously, as that frees up capacity, I think part of the challenge is because within an IT environment, teams are always reactive, they're resource constrained, they're always dealing with putting out fires, and they're not able to dedicate time to how do you evolve, how do you optimize, how do you actually stop from spending your time on break fix to actually providing value for the organization, right? As an IT team, can you actually help the business differentiate? And IT no longer becomes one where you're constantly fixing problems proactively, reactively, but you're instead proactively going in, addressing those issues, and those employees can now focus on much more creative types of tasks. I think that becomes important for us, right? We can't train people to just execute tasks. We have to make sure that even the way we learn and even the way we approach problems, it has to be about creativity. It has to be about thinking and solving and connecting the lines that the AI is not ready to do right now.
Yeah, I think there's like such a thing as over-reliance on AI. I just saw an example on Twitter where somebody talked about how like they had Cursor, they worked with Cursor on a 4-month coding project and started to trust too much to the AI, and then it sort of like wiped their progress. But I think what you're talking about, keeping the human in the loop, being realistic about what this AI could do versus turning everything over to it, I think that's probably going to be the way that businesses end up putting this into practice in a way that benefits everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. There's got to be checks and balances in the whole process, right? If you think about it, you've got to make sure that whatever you're executing is going to work, right? Not only reliably, but consistently as well. And so you have to make sure at some level, if there's a certain set of AI steps, is the human being validating that, making sure that it's working correctly. And similarly, if you've got human beings doing tasks, the AI could be providing guidance and telling you about things you've missed. So it's really a close collaboration between human beings and AI agents working together. The role of AI agents, as that space matures, you'll see them doing more specific tasks rather than generic ones. So that will evolve over time. But again, is it going to fix everything and do everything automatically? We've seen these trends in the technology. There's obviously certain sets of problems that it can solve really well. But there's sets of problems, especially when you're thinking about predictive types of capabilities, causal types of analysis, reasoning. There's all these traits that human beings bring to the equation here. And so AI will evolve, but there's plenty of space for human beings to be able to contribute for the foreseeable future.
I want to know how.
Be optimistic about the whole scenario.
Yeah, I want to know how you built this stuff. So you're talking about very advanced artificial intelligence that's not just sitting along and figuring out what people are doing, but synthesizing, and it seems like learning from different situations. So what's your tech stack?
Yeah, I mean, it's smart engineers working on this, right? So generative AI is the main building block for this, and we're using standard foundation models, and essentially a lot of the work is how do we make sure we have the right prompt engineering in place, we've got the right prompts that we're sending, and then we're also training this on data and making sure that we're adjusting our IP so we can actually solve these problems reliably. And that's where we are right now. Obviously, as we look into the future, we see a lot more opportunities for evolving that, especially with domain-specific learning. And then over time as well, I think we'll get to a world where federated learning is also an option. But obviously, as you think about federated learning, where you're learning from one set of experiences and transcribing that to another environment, you've got to also make sure you're dealing with privacy and security and access types of concerns as well. So I think we're quite a ways away from there, but that's where the future is heading as well.
Does the model have to be taught or walked through every situation by a person to be able to handle it on its own?
No,
you're shaking your head.
That's the beauty of the model, right? It's learning. It's actually we've got the model to the point where you're actually going through and executing certain tasks, and it's actually learning and creating these summaries and creating these scripts and executing them. And it's actually amazing, especially as we've seen updated versions of the models, the underlying models themselves. You can see that not only the accuracy but also the reliability of what you're getting with these models is pretty amazing as well.
We debate often on this channel about whether the product or the model matters more. What has the advancing models enabled you to do in the product? Like as we get from, let's say, GPT-4 to 4.5, or I don't know, are using like Claude Sonnet 3 to 3.7, what have these better models enabled you to build?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, there's a couple of things, right? With the models, it's the ability to solve problems reliably. It's able to solve new classes of problems as well, and it's also performance as well, right? How you can do it more quickly, and there's also the economics of this matters as well, right? Ultimately, you want to make sure you can execute these tasks in a manner that makes sense for the value that you're providing. So those are all the pieces that help us, but the product is just as important as well, right? Because how the user interacts with the system, where models are leveraged, and you have the right sort of handoff from human being to the model, where you've got the ability, think of it from a user interface design perspective, for the technician to be able to see exactly, here's these virtual technicians. Do I have control? Can I see what's happening? How do I step in there? Those are the product design elements that are important as well. And those have to work in concert with the underlying models that work as well.
Okay. Finally, I want to ask you, there's been this discussion in the AI community that AI is going to hit a wall. Maybe that means pre-training is going to hit a wall. But basically, people are saying that the models aren't going to get much smarter. And therefore, this is a bubble. And you're in an interesting position because you're both seeing the ways that models are advancing and you're putting this into action from a product standpoint. What's your view on the question of whether AI is hitting a wall? I'd be very curious to hear whether you anticipate that the party's almost over or whether it's just beginning.
No, from everything we're seeing, we're still very early stages of this whole transformation that's happening, right? And it's amazing, right? We were talking about LLMs and we were leveraging the large language models here, but now we're increasingly talking about SLMs, right? And domain-specific agents. And if you think about it, Alex, even as recently as 4 or 5 months ago, those weren't part of the vernacular, right? So even in a short period of time, we're introducing new concepts here. And some of the things that I talked about, the generative aspect is amazing, but if you're able to bring reasoning into it, if you're able to bring prediction, if you're able to connect things and look at causal relationships, we've got different types of AI technologies that do some of those elements. But imagine the power of tying that together and where we can go. I think we're at very early stages of this overall transformation. We learn along the way. We also need to make sure there's proper gates and checks and balances in the process as well, and making sure that ultimately the AI is reliable, that it's actually consistent, that it's working effectively, and we're protecting IP as well for customers, right? They've got customer data. As we deploy these solutions, how do you make sure that the data is protected and that's not compromised? So all these things need to work together. We'll go through a process of evolution. But I really think, just for the reasons that I described, we're at very early stages of this transformation process.
Okay, so if people have been following along and they want to hear more about your work or they want to potentially partner with you, how do they get in touch? Where do they go?
Logmein.com, right? Go to logmein.com. And you can, in fact, some of the things that I talked to you about, you can actually experience this yourself, right? You can go in, there's trials you can start, there's videos. You can start to see that a lot of this is absolutely there today, solving value for our customers, and welcome to reach out to us through logmein.com.
Great. Well, Joseph, thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing so much. I definitely learned a ton about how this is going to work. And for me, again, we hear so much about what AI might do, very little about what it's actually doing. And for you to come on and share some practical applications of the technology that are in play today was really helpful. And I'm sure the audience will enjoy it as well. So thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you very much, Alex. It was a pleasure.
All right, everybody. Thank you to Joseph, and thanks to you all for watching. We'll be back on the feed with another interview soon.